Doris Marie Payne was born on October 19th, 1930, and she is known as the world's most notorious jewel thief. Hi friends, my name is Manju and welcome back to my channel, where we talk about true crime cases from around the world. Today we're going to be talking about a jewel heist. So it's a little different from my previous cases, and let's get right into it. If Doris made her mind to steal something, she always did, and she was always successful. She was brought up in Atlanta, Georgia. Her father was a coal miner who was abusive to her mother. She was the youngest of 5 siblings and was the most protective of her mother. One evening when Doris was 13, her mother had sent her to the general store to clear up some bills. Once she cleared the bills up, Doris began to look at some watches. And when suddenly a white woman entered the store. Now the store clerk didn't want this white woman to see how kindly he was treating Doris. So he shooed her out without realizing that Doris had a watch on her wrist. This is the first time Doris had something she didn't pay for, but the only time she did it on accident. The racial profiling and being able to steal without any consequences at such a young age were the beginnings of her future life. In the interviews later on, Doris said she started stealing because she wanted to give her mother a better life and escape from the father's abuse. And to her, stealing was an easy and quick way to make money. After seeing her parents' unhappy marriage, she believed marriage just ties you to brutality. She was determined to never be financially dependent on a man. She was also driven by the resentment over racial inequality. Doris said she remembered reading her mother's Harper Bazaar magazines as a child and thinking to herself that why are those white models in those diamond bracelets better than her? That they weren't better than her. Few years later, she found a job in Cleveland, working in a hospital as a nurse. From there, she would take trips to Pittsburgh to steal jewelry. She called the game Miss Lady. She wore a hat and purse and imagined that she was living a life that was complete opposite of her impoverished circumstances. She had the ability to make those around her believe that she was someone she wasn't. That manipulation was key to making her the world's most notorious jewel thief. In Pittsburgh, she stole her first diamond and sold it, and then sent the cash to her mother so she could escape from her abusive husband. Doris realized how easy thieving was, and she stuck to it. As her act continued, she realized she must act the part of being trustworthy and as a socialite. She would dress up in expensive clothes and jewelry, and when she would walk into a store, jewelers would spread several pieces of jewelry on the countertop in front of her. Then she would start her game. She would move the pieces around, wear them, move them again, constantly wearing them, taking them off, moving them, and that would distract the sales clerk. When the sales clerk would look away, she would then grab one. Then Doris would ask where that particular piece was. Both would begin searching for the piece, and then miraculously, Doris would discover it and give it back to the jeweler. Now, this is how she earned the trust of the jewelers. The jeweler started believing after that she is a trustworthy client, and they could leave her with the jewels for brief moments in time, and then that would be her little window to steal a jewel. She always stole little pieces and random things here and there, but her first big score was when she was 23 years old. Doris walked out of a Pittsburgh jewelry store with a diamond ring valued at $20,000. She was so scared and paranoid that someone followed her that she spent the night in a bathroom in a Greyhound station. The next day, she was planning on going back to the jewelry store to return the ring she stole because she felt guilty, but instead took a detour to a pawn shop where she sold the ring for $7,000. Now, in today's world, the equivalent would have been $65,000. Through this incident, Doris learned that being a successful thief isn't about luck or confidence. It's about having the talent to make people forget. Doris said, "If they could forget, then I could get money." She became a very successful jewel thief. She bought several homes for her family, and she never married. Doris did have 2 children who ended up living with their father. She took financial responsibility for them, but she knew she was not made to be a mother. So she herself insisted that the children live with their father. She said a world-class jewel thief wasn't fit to be home much and be a mother. Now, later on, the children did learn that their mother's occupation was a jewel thief, and it didn't affect their relationship. To them, she was still their mother. From the 1950s, stealing jewels became her full-time job. She traveled across the US and Canada. She quickly learned that if she convinced the jewelers to bring out more than 5 pieces to show her at one time, and one had gone missing, they would be less likely to report that to the police, because the police then would report the store's negligence to their insurance company. She had to practice on how to make it their fault, the store's fault, and not hers. In 1957, she began dating an Israeli man by the name of Harold Braunfield, whose nickname was Babe. He had deep ties to the criminal world. When she was arrested for a jewelry heist in Philadelphia, Harold's lawyers were well connected and were able to negotiate a guilty plea without any time served. Even though she was saved, her picture circulated the newspapers and other outlets. Because of this, Doris was forced to move to a smaller city and towns where she wouldn't be recognized. Now, when Harold died in 1968 from cosmetic surgery, thieving for Doris became even more difficult. She then decided that living in the US was not a possibility anymore. So she moved to Europe. She traveled to Monte Carlo in 1974, and she stole a diamond ring from Cartier, which was her largest heist. The ring was roughly 9 to 10 figures. When she got to the airport, the police were waiting for her, and she was put into custody. In custody, Doris managed to pry out the diamond from the ring setting and throw the ring out of the window into the Mediterranean Sea, and she attached the diamond to her girdle. When the police arrested her, they went through many full-body searches but could never find the ring. And because of this, they couldn't hold Doris in custody. When she was released, they gave Doris her clothes back, which had the diamond ring hidden inside the girdle. Right after being released, she fled to New York City and sold the diamond ring for $148,000. She did many more smaller thefts, but her next big one was at the world-famous Bulgari jeweler in Rome. When she entered the store, she noticed the young, handsome clerk didn't have the special quality that her usual marks had. Usually, she looked for a combination of eager to please and stupid. This clerk, however, was too fast. He was watchful like a hawk, and she couldn't give him a chance to confuse him. Doris tried to move at a fast pace, putting on and taking off rings and necklaces until the clerk wasn't able to keep up with her. At that moment, she slipped a yellow diamond ring worth thousands into her middle finger. Doris then asked the clerk to use the restroom, and then she disappeared into the streets of Rome. Shortly after, the clerk realized what had happened, but it was too late. That was the last day in a 5-day, 4-city heist tour in which she stole a $55,000 watch at Van Cleef and Pearls, also several diamond and emerald pieces from the Gerard and Company's jewelry store, who was the London jeweler to the British Crown. Now fast forward 20 years later, she was a world-class international jewel thief who traveled the world under many different aliases with at least 9 different passports. She was sentenced in 1999 to 12 years for stealing a $57,000 ring in Denver, but she only served 5 years. Now, in January 2010, in California, she went to a Saks Fifth Avenue and ripped off the tags of a $1,300 Burberry trench coat and walked out. Now, a couple months later, Doris stole a 1-carat diamond ring and was convicted in January 2011 and was sentenced to 16 months in prison. On October 2013, Doris was detained for stealing a $20,500 diamond-encrusted ring in Palm Desert, California. After pleading guilty to the charges, she was given a sentence of 2 years in prison, which was followed by 2 years of parole. And she was also ordered to maintain her distance from any jewelry store. However, she was released after serving only 3 months due to prison overcrowding. Now, even though she promised the judge that she wasn't going to steal anymore, by July 2015, she had allegedly started stealing again and stole a $33,000 ring. Doris was arrested by the Atlanta police after she was caught on a security camera, placing $690 Christian Dior earrings in her pocket from a Saks Fifth Avenue store. Her life became a cycle. She would steal, get caught, tell the judge she wouldn't do it again, but end up stealing again. With her age, her skills weren't as sharp as they once were. She would end up getting caught more often. By this time, it wasn't that she wanted to steal, it was more compulsive. Her hands just did it. In July 2017, while she was on probation, she was wearing her ankle monitor and she stole $86 worth of clothes from Walmart in Atlanta. She was taken into custody but was released on a $15,000 bond and was ordered not to travel outside of Georgia. Her lawyers told the judge that Doris was now too sick to stand trial and claimed she had cancer. Almost 6 decades of this craft, at least 5 different social security numbers, at least 9 different birth dates, and over 20 arrests around the world, including Greece, Britain, Switzerland, France. She had made history of being the most notorious jewel thief, and she's a celebrity among thieves. There's a documentary based off of Doris's life. It is called The Life and Crimes of Doris Payne. There will also be a movie based on her life with the actress Tessa Thompson set to portray Doris in the film. But yes, that is the story of Doris Marie Payne. Thank you for listening and watching, and until next time, bye.